Hello. I don't like wasting time, so here's a complete list of the timestamps for every major point in the video if you want to use it. Enjoy. This is going to be a shorter video than I originally planned for several reasons. I wanted to grab the opportunity and make the best out of what I have, so at least I have something to share with you. Me and my friend Onv, or Owen, have made a public Discord server if you would like to join and talk about yokai watch and art, I guess. That's mostly what we two do. But once we have enough people, we might do some activities every now and then, depending on what people want to do. With that out of the way, let's talk about the next videos. Next video? But I haven't even finished this one yet. Shut up. I've got a rough mental roadmap of where I want to go with my art and what I'll post on YouTube for about the rest of the year so far. But this is the important part. I want to know what you think. Why did you subscribe, and what do you want to see me post more here on YouTube? It'll be a lot easier for me to make content closer to what you guys are asking for, you know? And since I'm new to the whole drawing thing, there's not much I can do for the time being other than just make progress videos once I think I have enough progress to share with you. Something that clearly doesn't happen overnight most of the time. And if I happen to hit a rough spot in the road, then who knows how long you'll have to wait for another video. You know, just thinking about it production wise. I'll have a few smaller videos sandwiched in between my bigger projects, just to appetize you while you wait like a good quarter of a year for me to finish another 90-day project or something similar. I don't plan on only making 90 days type of videos until I feel like I have a decent foundation when it comes to art. You know, most of the content related to my art journey, fancy word, will pretty much just be that. You know, big project, smaller art diary. Big project, smaller art diary. Big project, you get the deal, right? I might also post a few game reviews like I've done in the past if I manage to, you know, put them in there somewhere. But if every single one of you says, we want art, go draw more, you know, I guess I'll just focus on drawing. So I guess I've covered everything now. I'll have like a drawing process at the end of the video for the very few who asked about that. So, you know, whatever, you can go ahead to that if you want. Remember, I want your feedback, so go ahead and comment to your heart's desire. I might not respond, but I'll read it, don't worry. Oh yeah, and the 7 furry books are real. I'll make a video or two about the books once I've unlocked their power and finished them, but I'm gonna let them wait a little bit. Let's get on with the video. Compared to my first project, I felt a bit defeated when it came to my progress so far. I mean, rationally thinking about it, I only have a month to make comparisons with, you know, comparing from the start and to the end of the month, as opposed to 3 whole months in the 90 days project. But since I'm still a beginner, my mind is racing a bit and I'm all over the place, from one art tip to the next, trying to figure out what I want to do and how, etc, etc, like a 14-year-old who just discovered politics. I've got a long scope or vision on what I want to do when it comes to drawing. Like, I want to be able to make a good landscape painting if need be, or make a background, lighting, colors. I already said that, right, didn't I? I don't know. What I really want to do, however, is be able to camouflage myself by recreating other styles and whatnot. It's not really something I need, but it's a skill I value and would definitely enjoy. Imagine my end goal being something like being able to do any part of a production of a series or whatever. You know, backgrounds, like key animation, character design, concepts, blah de blah de blah de blah. Then I would like to be able to transform an old person to a young person, adding muscle to a skeleton, you know, on and on. I basically want to be able to alter reality, you know, a fancy term, but you know, it's pretty much what I mean. It's definitely a long way ahead. It will take me years to master properly. It's the kind of stuff I have in mind for the future, but for now I gotta focus on building my way up and get a solid foundation. So I started out with props. The original plan was that I was going to draw objects for 2 weeks, but I lasted about 8 days before I was burnt out. You can imagine drawing objects for 8 days straight wasn't exactly that fun. I think my idea was that I was going to get better at, you know, the 3D look in drawings and also understanding shapes better. It got to the point where I would look at objects and the furniture and get this intense look on my face, and I would just stare at it and start seeing the edges of it and see through it like X-ray, and basically getting a wireframe image of the object in my brain. It's kind of fucking weird. What I think was most important is that I learned to capture the silhouette of an image or an object. A lot like constructing a sketch of a person, I guess. Here's the first ever drawing I did of a prop, and then there's a second one, clearly different. But what I did wrong in the first one was that I was trying to copy the reference line by line, rather than capturing the silhouette of the object and adding details onto it. I think it's what most other artists do when, for example, painting a landscape or making a background. I see several people say that you shouldn't get caught up in the details, especially when you start out, and that sometimes it might be better to leave out details and let the viewer's brain do the rest. I guess it's important to start out with a simple shape or silhouette and add details onto the silhouette. As for perspective, you might fall into the trap of not using a vanishing point or doing enough foreshortening. I don't know if they're the same, but whatever. Usually the props I was drawing were tiny and short, so worrying about a vanishing point was kind of unnecessary and redundant, in my own opinion, of course. As long as the edges of an object were parallel, I thought the illusion of a 3D object was good enough. There are some drawings where I should have used foreshortening or a vanishing point to some degree, like this hammer or a pencil. It seems that I foreshortened properly when I made this extinguisher, and that came out pretty good, except for the pose. When I started learning about perspective and thinking about it, I was a bit overwhelmed, but after my week of drawing props, I kind of got rid of that feeling. You know, I'm not no master yet, but I still have to practice, obviously. Being overwhelmed when trying a new thing is kind of short-lived and seems to be a running theme throughout my video, since I think it's mostly just about getting your foot in the mud and then, you know, getting on with it. Most of it is practice anyway, so if you're putting something off, you know, just go do it, and that horrible feeling of building anticipation will go away pretty quickly, once you've found your method at least. At least that's what I did. The next topic, I felt like I kind of wasted this week. Of course, I'm trying to take the best out of it and, you know, remember what I've learned, but not every day is going to be a giant leap when it comes to progress, I guess. Patience and shit. I said in the last video that I wanted to get better at sketching, so I tried sketching people, mostly women, considering it's what I mostly drew in my 90 days, and well, I'll mostly draw in the next 90 days anyway, so. I mainly wanted to get the silhouette of a person down quickly, and also make it look somewhat 3D in the sketching process. I tried doing the box method for the first day or two, but I guess I didn't read the fucking manual, cause I really couldn't figure it out, and I didn't like the results I got, so I kinda stopped doing it. It might be a shame since I realized that picking up a method takes about a week for me to do, before I see any benefits and, you know, limits. I did, however, much more enjoy the lemon slice method that I got from Ethan Becker. It's quicker to draw for me, and towards the end I think I captured the silhouette of a person pretty well. Some just took me like 2-3 minutes to do, but I've got a hard time making a lemon slice out of something that could be considered pretty square, like the torso from the front or the body from the front in general, actually. In the end, I kind of ended up with a mix between the lemon slice shape and my own shapes throughout this week. If there's something important I would take away from this week, is that I learned trying to think of an object or a person from a different angle and realized that not every method of drawing has a can-do-it-all status. At least I think so. Which again is why I'd like to learn most techniques and be able to use them in different circumstances in case I need them, so I can make it easier on myself depending on the situation. So I really don't want to get too focused on a certain way of doing things. So while this format of trying out a new thing every week might not be the most optimal in achieving results, I'm at least hoping that problems and solutions I find along the way might help me in the future. You know, even if it seems to be something trivial at first. Then, week 3, you know that whole meme about how hands are hard to draw? I thought, how hard can it be? And decided to jump into it and grab it by the hand. Again, the first drawing was kind of fucked up, but that's because I forgot what I was going to do right after watching a video on how to draw hands. I don't think I'll ever aim for hyper-realistic drawings of anything, but I would like the bottom line to at least be any person looking at my drawing and going, ah yes, human hand, you know, without anybody pointing out too many errors and such, you know, on the first glance. Again, Ethan Becker mostly helped me out here with his videos. I actually had a video playlist that I used to watch every day, just to hammer the methods into my brain. And the most important thing here was, for me at least, drawing a hand from the side and from the front or back. I would use something similar to a lemon slice when drawing a hand or fingers from the side, or I would use an in-out, 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 in. method when drawing fingers from the front or back. You know, go watch his videos if you're interested. I don't think I can explain it that well. There's also some great proportion tips in the video as well, such as the hand being pretty much cut in half, the palm being roughly the same length as this part of your fingers, and finally, making a more organic hand by rounding off this edge here to line up with the thumb. Nothing much really happened for this week of hands other than that. It's a very dexterous body part and has a lot of detail if you need it. I think it's on the same level of difficulty as accurately drawing a face. I haven't really studied the anatomy of the hand yet, but I'll get to it someday. So I'm not finished with the hand completely, but I'm not scared of it either. Yet. And onto the worst week I had, faces. To begin with, I wasn't going to bother with faces since I have a plan for it in my next 90 days. I'm actually kind of working on it right now as we speak, but I decided to try it anyway. I had no way of constructing a proper human head other than the basic ball with a cross on it. I tried another tip from Ethan Becker again, which is this weird 1-2 shaped mask for the face. I think it went horribly. I watched the video over and over and over and never really seemed to get it. I did have an easier time drawing masculine faces, or faces where the bones really showed when using this method. Honestly, I want to forget this week ever happened. I guess exploring and experimenting with different techniques is kind of necessary to find out more about yourself as an artist. This method might work for you, but I don't think it works for me. It might be more of a method for a specific style. I just think it didn't make too much sense when I was thinking about the skull beneath the face of a person. I think the line going directly from the eye region to under the nose doesn't make sense. Personal opinion. But I'm not throwing the method away, but I'll save it for later and see if it's useful in the future. The face is a pretty advanced part of the human body to draw, and not anatomically correct anyway, so. Speaking of anatomy, again, I came across a video from Mark Brunet, Anatomy in 7 days. Perfect for me, I said. You basically set a benchmark of a body part by drawing it from imagination from a few different angles. Then the next day, you do some quick loose sketches of the body part you want to focus on. I made 18. Then, you're allowed to trace over muscular shredded models. And you're supposed to identify the muscles if you know them, or learn them, and do some more detailed sketches on the side. 5 to 10 minutes. I didn't really know anything about the muscles in the arm, except for the biceps and the triceps before I started, but now I've somewhat memorized the deltoid, the biceps, the triceps, the brachialis, the brachioradialis, the flexor carpi longus muscle, extensor something ulna. There's a few in there. What mainly helped me a lot was this guide on Clip Studio about drawing arms. Yeah, of course. It had some good tips about drawing arms and stuff like proportions, but it also had a good turnaround sketch of the arm with muscles detailed so I could practice and trace over muscles in different angles more accurately. I traced quite a lot because I was trying to easily identify muscles and whatnot in different sizes, angles, body fat percentage, and so on. I won't be surprised if I repeat the 7-day process a few times until I'm happy with myself. Then you draw from reference made by professional artists or studios. I opted to go for Dragon Ball because there's a lot of muscle in there. It's not the most detailed style and it's not hyper realistic either, but if I were to draw muscles, I would probably do it similar to that, or other shonen anime, I guess. Then you draw the bones of the body part you're studying and also a detailed sketch of the muscles, like really detailed. Oh yeah, and the forearm does this, by the way. Speaking of the forearm, it's the worst part of your arm. It's all fun and games from the shoulder to your elbow, and this guy's a handful, which we'll get to another day. But the forearm is a motherfucker. There's a lot of different muscles in the forearm, and they seem to be all over the place, which is why it's important to find landmarks and have rules of thumb by your side, quite literally. I started seeing a connection between the bones and the muscle names pretty easily after a few days of looking at them, but it will take me some time before I properly place all the muscles, but of course, and again, practice and memorization is key. I'm not really scared of anatomy once I've gotten into it, so I don't think I'll have trouble studying it again or getting into it again. And I did find some methods to make it easier for me as well. So far, day 6 is the warm-up before your next benchmark basically. You just draw more in different angles again, and then day 7, you draw from imagination. How do I do? Do I gotta repeat another grade? I'm more comfy with the basic side or front view of the arm, as you can see, but I know I have to focus more on what it looks like from the back or from the top, or this weird angle that I made here. That's pretty much what I've been up to for the past month or so. I hope you enjoyed the video, and that you're willing to wait a bit until I start my next 90 days. Forgot to say, crazy response on the video. Kinda blew me away. I think some of you wanted to see my process of drawing, so if you don't want to watch that, then the video is pretty much over. But if you want to sit and see me doodle, then go ahead. Okay. I use Clip Studio on PC. I've upgraded to a drawing display now. I did most of my 90 days on a tablet, but from now on, I'm using a display. For most of my stuff, I go with a 10,000 by 10,000 canvas. Crazy, I know. And a resolution of 1200 dpi. Always. You can see my pen settings here. Forgot to say, I went down from 45 in stabilization when I started my 90 days, and I've worked my way down to about 35 now. I'm aiming for a clear and high quality look when I draw, but I might play around with some messier or pixelated art style someday. Anyway, recently I've tried to sketch with a pencil brush or a textured brush ever since I got a comment from Sunnycrest recommending it, and I like it so far. I might want to try and get a cleaner textured brush or a pencil for it, but for now it's fine. I think the benefit I saw when I started using it was that I could easily put emphasis on thicker lines or tapers this way, since I can make a line thicker or darker by going over it multiple times with a pencil in the sketching process. Not that I really have to worry about line thickness and CalArts stuff. I get the reference image that I want to draw. I'm not that good at constructing my own drawings or poses for that matter, so I'm currently in the monkey see, monkey do stage, but I try to avoid copying line by line. Rather, I aim for getting the general shape or silhouette of the image, as you can see. Whether or not I get the actual and final shape down instantly in the sketch is a different story. So basically, I construct the shapes first and add details later on. I might draw some arrows or marks to remind me that something is definitely off and to focus on it during my line work process. I like to overshoot my lines, since I'm so lucky as to be drawing digitally, and I then erase the overshoot if need be. I really want intersections and tangents or whatever to look as seamless as possible, just to avoid weird bumps and like unnecessary detail that I didn't mean to incorporate into the drawing, of course, obviously, because it kind of sticks out in the very minimalistic or, simple style of the CalArts style. Or any cartoony look for that matter. Nowadays, when I draw a face, I use about 3 to 5 different layers, depending on how many details there are in there, compared to the start of my 90 days, where I probably used like 10 layers in the face before I even started on the body. But I've managed to keep the amounts of layers lower now. I also like to draw through sometimes to hopefully capture the 3D feeling of an image, or try to make sure that something isn't connected ass backwards. There's not much I can think of to add to this part. This drawing took me about 40 minutes, and besides that arm being a weird, I think it looks alright. If you got any more questions, go ahead and comment or join the Discord server. I'll try to answer any question if you have one. Hope you enjoyed the video and look forward to the next one. And don't forget, if you have any feedback, I'd be happy to hear it. Okay, bye.